3 Warframes that you should be trying out right now. While we wait for Warframe's next update, it's important to try a wide selection of frames to keep the game more enjoyable. And today I'll be sharing 3 frames, builds included, that I've been playing lately that have kept the game fun and fresh for me in the meantime. Hope you guys enjoy. The first frame I wanted to cover is definitely of relevance as of late. With the release of Temple and how they proved to be an extremely powerful heat-based Warframe, it makes sense to take another look at Ember to see how she stacks up in comparison. My first thought was that Ember would pale in comparison to Temple, due to Temple's huge team-wide fire damage buff and devastating exalted weapon, but after the revisit I realised that Ember not only plays quite differently but also has other important qualities to offer that Temple doesn't have. For example, Ember has much more efficient and convenient survivability in my opinion, huge damage reduction, and the healing flame augment for easy overguard. A caster heavy playstyle that can easily keep you alive with brief respite, not to mention the huge damage over time, debuffing, armor stripping, and heat damage buffs of her own. Ember is a tanky defense stripper with solid caster damage compared to Temple's large damage buffing exalted crit damage focused skill set. In the past I've covered Ember and shown off how good her caster damage can be when producing enough energy, however due to Temple's heat buffing abilities I have started to use Ember's Fireball Frenzy augment to compare the damage and make use of her weapon amping abilities, which is heavily slept on. Fireball Frenzy is one of the best damage buffs in the game, especially while you are armor stripping enemies, but despite focusing less on casting, I still feel Ember greatly needs large amounts of energy sustain for her playstyle. If you're curious on why I don't use her exothermic augment, personally I prefer Equilibrium, the reason being that not only it can be useful to gain health off of the ground if my overguard ever breaks, but using Synth Deconstruct on my Sentinel is more consistent for dropping orbs for health and energy. So really it's up to you which one you want to use and prefer. Ember is in a much better spot than I thought even after Temple's release, and sure she may be a bit of an augment merchant, but I still think you should try and give her a go. Our second frame today has been the talk of the town ever since the pseudo exalted update, and that is Ashe. Ashe is also much better than I thought due to these changes. Previously Ashe was decent but a little slow, and whilst he can still be out DPS'd by other frames, in a solo setting he is much faster at taking out hordes of enemies than he was prior. Not to mention the damage potential of Bladestorm is vastly superior to every other previous version of the skill across Warframe's lifespan. I can't help but use it with Wrathful Advance for those huge crit numbers, but even whilst you are letting your shadow clones run through a corridor, it's still worth slinging out other attacks of your own with your weapons. His Invis grants easy access to the crit damage and strength buff of Arcane Crepuscular, automatically making him a better crit weapon platform than most. And you also have many options when it comes to augments and which abilities you subsume on and off. You get rid of Teleport and squeeze in Seeking Shuriken, maybe find a spot on your build for Smoke Shadow and give crit chance buffs to your entire loadout. The pseudo exalted changes made me realise that Ashe is now much closer to the performance of Kullervo than he was before. This was of course a comparison we made in the past, and it's nice to be able to say that Ashe can finally compete with the other slash based Warframe more convincingly. In addition to my build that I don't see people opting to use often on Ashe is Summoner's Wrath. The bonus summon damage applies to your clones, so as long as your build is focused around Bladestorm, it can be a worthy addition. Otherwise, Still Charge and Growing Power are also solid options. And finally, I think it's worth talking melee weapons that I like using with the build, so that we can further benefit off of Wrathful Advance. I've been enjoying both the Ninkana Prime and the Incarnate Prisma Scanner. The DPS on both of these weapons is actually really comparable, and they feel just like they're a match made in heaven for Ashe. He, in my opinion, is one of the most satisfying frames to play right now and works well in a variety of mission types, and if you're mostly a solo player, his value goes up even more. And now moving on to our third and final frame of today's video, we have Veruna. My main interest in playing Veruna right now came from a Reddit questionnaire that the devs held not too long ago. A player asked about Veruna's ult, Ulfrin's Descent, not being an exalted weapon or a pseudo-exalted, to which Rebecca responded that they may look into it in the future, along of course with the All Fours animation the ability has. It's abilities like this that often spark my interest in ways to build frames, abilities that don't behave like any other despite sharing resemblances. Veruna's augment, Ulfrin's Endurance, allows her to sustain the charges of her ult with ease, giving you constant access to the huge AoE crit attacks in addition to her already huge status debuffing AoEs provided by Prey of Dinar. Arcane Crepuscular is also a welcome addition to a Veruna setup. Not only can she stay invisible during Shroud of Dinar while dashing, but the ability has its own combo system and crit bonuses, meaning that both strength and crit damage from the Arcane are useful to the build. And as for other arcanes, Veruna can make easy use of Impetus with her Fangs of Raksh, because she can proc a shit ton of statuses at once, granting you large amounts of bonus strength and efficiency. So you have a Warframe with Invis, health and energy sustain from her third ability, status AoE nuking and debuffing from her second ability and its augment, and huge AoE critical damage slash attacks from her ult. She can make great use of the Archon mods, and you don't have to dump mods into any survivability. No brainer arcane options and a borderline perfect kit with no helmet, and if you don't like her 4, you can always subsume it off and focus more on a Prey of Dinar build by buffing it with another helmet option. Literally my only gripe with Veruna is that the animation on her 4th ability doesn't work whenever you are moving forward, either walking or sprinting, but per the questionnaire they held, apparently they'll be looking into this at some point. She should be able to run around on all 4s like a wolf. I don't know why that's not a thing. Other than that, she's a ton of fun and one of the strongest stealth and melee based frames in the game. So there you have it, 3 incredible Warframes that I'd highly recommend you give a go whilst the game is a little bit stale to switch things up. Let me know what Warframes you guys have been rocking lately with what setups. I also do need recommendations to keep the game fresh, and appreciate everyone for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, then no worries. Hope to catch you guys in the next video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to like and subscribe, and until next time, take care.